Welcome to the Coach Barnabas podcast. It's time to take a few minutes and leave behind the stuff that drains us and recharge our batteries with some encouragement and insight. Finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Hi, and welcome to the Coach Barnabas podcast. My name is Corey, and I just want to welcome you. I want to thank you for tuning in. This is kind of, I'll be honest, this is kind of a dream in a lot of ways, and I'm sure I'll lay that out in the future. Um, but this is something I've thought of for a long time, probably for over the course of years doing a podcast. But I'd always kind of run into a wall and say, "But what do I have to say that anybody's going to tune in to listen to?" You have literally millions of choices for podcasts, so you have to have a voice, you have to have a theme, and I would sit there and think about, well, what interests you, whatever, and it's like, there's millions of things out there. Um, and then I got to the point to where it's like, I just kind of settled in and realized that, um, tap into what fuels you. And so that's what this podcast is going to be. And in a few moments, I'll kind of begin laying out the vision and what Coach Barnabas even means and what the theme and the vision of this channel is going to be. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude that you've taken a moment just to tune in. We're just going to spend a few minutes together today and kind of just have introduction. Um, like I said, there are millions, literally millions of podcasts available, and yet another one now, right? There's probably 100,000 more that are launching today as well. So, it's kind of weird to be out there, but it's also kind of the next generation of something I used to do, which was blogging, writing out a blog. And I had hundreds of, articles, for lack of a better term, that I had written over the course of years. And then I kind of walked away from that. And, here we are now, years later. And I'm just going to kind of pick up with the way my blog used to be, which was just kind of things that spoke to me. And it was almost at times self-medicating, sharing something that was on my heart, and just put it out there. And a lot of the times, the more introspective and transparent I became, thinking, I'm just kind of putting it out there. This is what I'm going through. This is what I think. This is what I'm learning through this situation. I'd invariably get messages back from people saying, I'm going through the exact same thing. Thank you. I can relate to you because that's something I went through. It's something I am going through. It's something I'm fearing or something I'm having to face in the future. And so here I am to kind of take that on to the next step. Now, when I say here I am, let me just put something in perspective. I'm a natural introvert. This is not my comfort zone. But what happens when your comfort zone comes in conflict? You have kind of conflicting priorities when your natural instinct is to kind of just blend in the background and not draw attention to yourself. But at the same time, you have a passion to encourage people and to lift them up and to speak into their lives something that's going to inspire and motivate them. So worlds collide, and here we are. So I'm overcoming my natural instinct, which is to just be in the background and maybe write something out and let somebody else read it, and stepping up to the forefront and kind of sharing with you what's on my heart and maybe things I've learned, things I am learning, things I need to learn, and share them with you. And maybe you will find some sense of connection with that, some sense of identification and encouragement, and that you'll feel maybe a little more empowered to take the next step in your own journey. So that's really what the purpose of this is. Um, the world is already filled with a lot of negativity and conflict, and we're entering a new election cycle, which is kind of, there's a lot of division, and a lot of, if you've been on social media at all or even just heard of it, the fact that you're here watching or listening to this at this moment, you're connected to, what is going on in the world to some degree. And you don't need me to tell you just how negative and demoralizing it can really be. So that's the whole kind of concept of this, is to be hopefully a lighter version, and more encouraging, more positivity. Now, I'm not really the most kumbaya person in the world, so don't get me wrong. I'm not one who sees a car accident and goes, "Oh, that's awesome." That's not realistic. Life can be messy. Life can be challenging and ugly and very sad at times. But even in the midst of those things, there are things we can learn and grow from. And so that's what I found. And as you can probably tell by the salt in my beard, um, I've had a lot of life experience. And there are things I have learned through failure. There's things I've learned by accident. There's things I've learned by observing others. And to some extent, maybe we'll be sharing a little bit of those things as we go forward. But that's kind of where we're starting. Coach Barnabas, I want to take this episode and just lay out, what first I want to focus on what coach means. Okay. What is a coach? Now, you may have tuned in thinking this is like some sort of sports thing, and it's not. Although I love sports, you might see behind me, I have some things that relate to sports. I love sports. Grew up playing sports. I learned things from sports. So there's a good possibility that background will be revealed and used in some form or another as we go forward. But I don't want to get locked into a sports metaphor or anything like that to where that's what this thing is all about. Although it can translate. But in the next episode, I'll talk about the second half of the podcast name. But for now, I want to focus on coach and where that word derives from. The way we understand it is from an actual village from like 700 or 800 years ago in Hungary, which I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but the name of this village, tiny village in Hungary, is KOCS. And to this day, my understanding is there's still only like 2,500 people who live in this tiny village in Hungary. But in this village, again, 800 years ago, like in 15th century, 16th century, they developed they improved a system of, you've seen horse-drawn carriages, they go back for some time, but they developed a system where originally they were carrying goods from Vienna to Budapest, from Austria into Hungary. But then what they did is they saw this as an opportunity to carry people. So they developed an actual suspension system that made it more comfortable for human beings to ride from one place to another and to go from where they started to their desired destination. And a coach, if you think about that, as it's evolved over time, it still means that. I mean, you can get on the bus, they call it a coach. What part of when you fly in a plane, you're not flying business or first class, you are in coach. So to this day, it still means a vehicle of transportation to take you from where you are to where you're going. And a coach in this sense really means the same thing. So what it is and what I've done is I have actually coached youth sports. Like I said, I played sports growing up. I had coaches. Is it was people who um, had been there and know the way, and their idea was to I'm going to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And so that's kind of the concept behind the word coach. So we're going to kind of launch with that for now and understand that you can be a coach. You by your life experience, the things you have learned, you can pass it on to the next person. Coach Barnabas, I am not Coach Barnabas. It's really kind of something we all can aspire to be. And again, the next episode we'll get into what Barnabas means and why that it's kind of an odd word, odd name. But I'll kind of go into some detail on what that means, and then putting it together where we go from here. So again, I just kind of wanted to take a few minutes and connect with you, welcome you, thank you, give you a brief, you know, outline of where we're going. Because honestly, I don't have anything but the first couple of episodes mapped out in my head. But as usually happens, something will inspire me that I really want to share with you, and we'll kind of take it from there. So that's really about it for now. But again, thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. This is available on YouTube if you want to watch. Although, let me just be honest with you, I have a face for radio. I used to work in radio, and that was my comfort zone where I could talk, but yeah, I didn't have to be looked at. but it's also available on audio podcasts if you're driving in your car or working around the house, something that you can listen to. So we'll make that available. I'm still learning how to do all this stuff, so bear with me. This is a work in progress for me, but I've had people who have been an encouragement to me to take this next step. And so hopefully in some way, this will be a vehicle for you to take you maybe from where you are to where you want to be, or to take you through things that you're going through and see you through to the other side of it. Okay. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you. Wow. See, I just did something I promised myself I wouldn't do. When you watch these things, people always say, "Well, see you next time." And it's like, no, that's not how this works. I can't see you. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see me, but I cannot see you. Or if you're listening online, hey, I can't see you. So I'm going to try and break that silly cliche, and I'll say, we'll catch you next time. But until then, I just want you to be encouraged and to be an encouragement. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining the Coach Barnabas podcast. We'd greatly appreciate your support by liking and subscribing to the podcast and setting up notifications so we can let you know when new episodes are available. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment. Make a difference today.